Welcome to PAR Podcast, episode 74.31. PAR Podcast is an audio supplement for Public Administration Review, the premier professional journal in the field of public administration. In 2015, PAR will celebrate 75 years of furthering public administration research, theory, and practice. This episode features comments by Matt Leighninger, the Executive Director of the Deliberative Democracy Consortium, an alliance of the major organizations and leading scholars working in the field of democracy and citizenship. In this episode, Mr. Leighninger reads his perspective titled, Want to Increase Trust in Government? Update Our Public Participation Laws, published in Public Administration Review, Issue 74, Volume 3. Mr. Leighninger discusses the problems with conventional opportunities for public participation and describes an alternative approach.
The outdated laws on public participation and the failed public meeting formats they perpetuate represent one of the key obstacles to improving the relationship between citizens and government. If we want to stem the rising tide of incivility, mistrust, and policy gridlock, we need to re-examine the official processes for engaging the public. Most of our public participation laws are over 30 years old, predating the internet as well as recent innovations in face-to-face participation. Key terms, such as public participation itself, are rarely defined. This provides risk-averse legal counsels and city attorneys with ample justification for vetoing new innovations. Increasingly, public officials and staff are wondering whether the best practices in participation are in fact supported, or even allowed, by the law. Over the past year, the Working Group on Legal Frameworks for Public Participation has produced new tools, including a model local ordinance and model amendment to state legislation, in order to help create a more supportive, productive, and equitable environment for public participation. The costs of small-minded participation. Our official participation opportunities consist mainly of public notice and comment periods, advisory boards, and above all, the traditional public meeting that allows citizens 3 minutes each to address their elected representatives. These formats lock in a set of small-minded, unworkable assumptions about public life. In a conventional public meeting, the main reason that public officials struggle is that the role that they have been given is not necessarily the one they envisioned. Whether they were elected or appointed, most officials came into office assuming they had been elected to make decisions on behalf of the public. They start their careers in public life with a rush of confidence, trust, and respect, only to find, when the first controversy or key policy decision emerges, that the meeting room is full of angry faces. Over time, this dynamic becomes entrenched in their thinking, as public leaders continually wonder why they don't have the trust or respect of citizens. In another part of the meeting room sit the public employees, staffers who have many of the same feelings about the lack of citizen trust and respect. The frustrations of both citizens and officials are often taken out of the staff. As a result, the public employees are usually the silent, stoic characters in the room, trying to ride out the emotional turmoil of the meeting so that everyone will just allow them to go back to work. This attitude of government staff reflects and reinforces their own blindered set of assumptions about their role. When it comes to public problems, they are the problem solvers, the only problem solvers, and nothing but the problem solvers. They view politics as a sideshow to their main job, which is to make sure that the streets are cleaned, potholes are filled, buses run on time, criminals are apprehended, and children are educated. Citizens, nonprofit organizations, faith communities, and other non-governmental entities can contribute to these goals, but the meeting does not provide opportunities to explore these sorts of collaborations. The citizens who attend the meeting are at least visibly the most frustrated of all. The opportunity they are given, which in most cases consists of 3 minutes at an open microphone to express themselves to the entire room, reaffirms their role as protesters of public policy, complaining about decisions that were made without their knowledge or input. In many public meetings, the officials and staff are barred from responding to anything said by citizens. Typically, this is because sunshine laws prevent discussion by officials of any topic that wasn't placed on the agenda 72 hours before the meeting. Even the physical setup of the room reinforces the disparity in power and authority. Citizens sit in rows without name tags, with their single microphone in the middle, while the officials loom above them on a raised dais with engraved name plaques and comfortable chairs. The conventional format favors the most confident, educated, and infuriated speakers, and since they seldom feel heard by the officials, it is almost guaranteed to leave them even more frustrated than before. Conventional participation opportunities are damaging and costly. Because they require time and resources to organize, they divert public employees and other organizers from more productive pursuits. Because they erode trust and communication, they make public problem solving more difficult. and because they damage the relationship between citizens and government, they may even have an impact on tax revenues and the financial sustainability of public institutions. Revising the legal framework. Over the last year, a working group that includes representatives from the International Municipal Lawyers Association, International City-County Management Association, American Bar Association, National League of Cities, National Civic League, Policy Consensus Initiative, National Coalition for Dialogue and Deliberation, International Association for Public Participation, and the Deliberative Democracy Consortium have worked together to produce new legal tools for public participation. These include 1. A Model Public Participation Ordinance for local governments, 2. A Model Public Participation Act for state governments, 3. A document describing policy options and techniques for strengthening public participation. The intent of these tools is not to offer cookie-cutter solutions for city councils and state legislatures, but to encourage them to consider their options. They are available in Making Public Participation Legal, a free publication of the National Civic League. The legal tools crafted by the working group are intended to allow innovation, not require it. We took as our inspiration the laws on alternative dispute resolution enacted during the 1980s and 1990s, says Lisa Blomgren-Amsler, a public administration scholar at Indiana University. Simply by authorizing public agencies to use mediation, facilitation, and other ADR processes, those laws resulted in a dramatic proliferation of these practices at every level of the legal system. The same is needed for public participation techniques. We must free public officials and employees to engage citizens in more productive ways. We must enable government to reach out to its constituents, adapt its practices and expectations, and repair the relationship. The success, and even the survival, of our governments may depend on it.
This concludes PAR Podcast episode 74.31. To listen to additional episodes and learn more about Public Administration Review, please visit us online at publicadministrationreview.org. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter at PA Review. Thanks for listening.